I yield back.
Representative Lee of Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am actually really glad that we're talking about youth sports, because I, for one, as somebody who availed myself of youth sports when I was in school, I recognize how important it is that it is more accessible and more affordable. But we also know that when school budgets are tight, sports, just like arts and debate and other extracurriculars, are usually the first things that are on the chopping blocks. But we also know how important they actually are to children's development, as academics and these things really do go hand in hand. My worry is that this administration's efforts to defund public schools and their protection of corporate interests all but guarantee that children's extracurricular activities will be outsourced to private equity and reserved exclusively for those kids and those families that can't afford it. Because even when schools do have robust athletic programs, we already know that poor kids, kids from marginalized communities, are already falling behind their wealthy peers, who typically, and now as we see kind of this movement of these private sports, AAU club sports, right? Those kids are starting at around 4, and poorer kids are not able to access those sports sometimes until they're in junior or high school. But it's also making it wildly inexpensive for everybody, where these expensive private programs are running $40 billion and have a $40 billion corporate monopoly that have no real regard for these kids' health or their well-being. Corporate sports leagues either box low-income kids out entirely, or they use the empty promise of free higher education to coerce families into spending exorbitant amounts of money that they don't have for their very young kids to specialize in extreme training for one sport, committing their lives to something that will generate billions in revenue that they'll never see. Or sacrificing other parts of their lives to follow this one path that has only ever been available to a small fraction of students. Let me look around. Ms. Van Dyke, in your testimony, you shared a survey that showed 83% of parents believe their children have the talent to earn them an athletic scholarship, but only 2% of college applicants actually receive them, and most don't even cover full tuition. Do elite youth sports companies use predatory tactics like the promise of college scholarships to recruit families into their programs?
They absolutely do. It's really easy to look at their websites and their promotional materials to see those promises. And they have to make those promises to justify the high costs that they're charging those families. And those high costs are the result of consolidation. It's not just youth sports where consolidation makes prices go up. Study after study, a study from the Census Bureau a couple of years ago, a study in 2015 by John Kwoka, a study in 1989, all show that when mergers and consolidation are allowed to happen, prices go up, wages go down, and small businesses close, and that when we actually enforce our antitrust laws and stop these mergers, prices go down, employment goes up, and small businesses succeed.
Yeah, thank you so much for making those various connections there. Your testimony refers to youth sports turning into a profit extraction scheme. How you've mentioned how these markets are shifting through the consolidation, through the lack of any sort of antitrust laws, and as with all sectors, right? When youth sports are taking over by corporate monopolies, they don't prioritize, or no longer are at least able to prioritize, the benefits to participating. And as we've heard from the other witnesses today, sports benefit children's development. They teach invaluable skills like social emotional learning. Mr. Boyle, as the executive director of an organization that offers school-based sports programs rooted in social emotional learning, I know you mentioned it briefly, but would love if you could share the connection between youth sports and why SEL is so important.
Yeah, and again, and it's all kids. It's like all kids benefit from the skills of SEL, right? And because sports is the best place for teaching these things because the emotions happen in real time. And so, you know, a kid standing over a putt, a kid about to take a penalty kick, a kid about to take a free throw that matters. Those are life skills you can teach in real time. I was a school counselor, and so I would always be told, hey, you got to go in and do a lesson on anxiety or anger management or conflict resolution. It was a heck of a lesson.
Yeah,
you know what
real
impact it had? None. The next day, it was gone. We wouldn't teach piano once and say, good luck, have at it. Now you're good at it. You have to continue to teach these skills and use the opportunity of sports when those emotions are happening in real time to say, all right, this is how you can deal with this right here in a safe and fun place, so that when you're about to road rage or lose it on somebody, you've developed those skills in such a way. Sports is the best opportunity to do that, and we miss out on so many kids if we don't give them access to sports.
Thank you. That's my time. I appreciate the testimony today. Sports is something that I value, but the connection between antitrust, these monopolies pushing kids out of sports and creating an industry that I think is not having the outcomes we want is really important to talk about. So thank you so much for your time, and I yield back.
I'll now recognize Ranking Member Bonamici for her closing remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and truly thank you